Hello and welcome to another video from the Fantasy Legion. I've got Sean with me.
Hi,
Um,
hi Al. How are you doing? Hope you're well.
Yeah, we got an interesting one today. This is a bit different. We're actually looking at a Devy League. We'll explain what a Devy League is. If you want to go ahead and explain what a Devy League is, how it differs
Yeah, well,
from a normal
in
sort of league.
essence, it's a league where you kind of can pick players that are actually playing now, as well as speculate to the future. So you're looking ahead. I'm not sure in your Devy League, how many years ahead were they looking back?
Anyone who's a college player, so any
Right.
4 of the years really, basically.
So
Anyone
up
who's
to
at
4
college
years.
can be picked, as well as anybody who's entered the league this year
Right. So
in the
in
actual
that league,
NFL draft.
so fairly standard Devy League. So you can look up to 4 years out and pick players based on what you believe. So but there's speculation, there's gambling, there's all sorts of opportunities in this. I was going to sort of set the league on this, or sorry, set the sort of foundation for this. One of the hardest parts, a lot of different strategies you can use in a Devy League, is to decide whether you're going to go with players that you totally know or whether you're going to speculate. And I believe you speculated in this one quite hard.
Yeah, just because it was different. I wanted to. I mean, I don't think my team's going to contend for at least a couple of years. But let me just explain that this league was actually an auction league as well. So you can do it with picks, and people had to actually bid on players and the actual Devy picks as well. So 101 was bid on. So we can just have a look at some of the rosters that people ended up with. So, well, let's just go through a bit of the draft. So. David actually, he was given Thanos as a nickname. We don't quite know why, but he did. And he won the auction for the first 5 picks. I had the next 3 actually.
Yeah.
But
he
picked the 5 running backs from this year's draft class, which probably quite a smart move. He's got a nice young.
Should we have a look at the rosters in detail? Would that be a good way to break it down?
Because
I know that
if you want to do that, we can do that.
You've had to use for this one. You've had to use in that bit that you showed. You had to use names as close to the player as possible, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, basically, yeah, because the names don't exist yet in an NFL.
Okay, shall we start with this Dennis Rodman's team?
Graham. Actually, thanks to Graham and Dan C, the top 2 there, who actually organised the league and created it, because there's a bit of work changing all the players' names. So you can see there, probably the only Devy player he's got by the looks of it is, he has got, so he's got Justin Fields, who's a QB of the future. He's obviously got LaMiracle Pirine. He probably picked him up fairly late, I would think, in the draft. Just having a look through the rest of it. KJ Hamler, he would have been a late pick as well.
Well, if we go through his quarterbacks, it's a fairly solid list that he's got there. He's got 2 players for the now and 1 for the future. That looks quite good. Seems all right. Running backs, a lot of speculation in his running backs, to be honest, where he's looking at kind of players who are playing the backup role.
We've got Alvin Kamara, who's obviously the star of his running back team. The rest are kind of could be something, aren't they, really? Like AJ Dillon, could be something, Raquel Armstead, any sort of injuries to the players in front of them. Chase Edmonds, we know what he can do.
So if I'm looking, because obviously I'm not involved in this league, so again, I'm very open about it. If I'm looking at the running backs now, I'm just saying it's okay. It's nothing special, and he's probably going to struggle initially, at least in the first few weeks, unless players go down, to really have a strong backfield. So at the moment, that's not the strength of his team. So let's see if the strength is in his wide receivers. Let's have a little look at those.
Well, yeah, he's got Mike Evans, obviously Jarvis Landry. He's always been solid. DK Metcalf, very exciting player. DJ Moore, exciting player. Juju Smith-Schuster, so exciting young receivers there. Obviously
very solid. Yeah,
a few other sort of younger ones like Hamler who joined Denver, and a few. N'Keal Harry could well take a big step forward this year. We just don't know with him.
So it's a league that, just looking at this again, because I don't know the system until I've seen the teams for the first time as other people are. So it doesn't have any kickers involved here, just tight ends.
No defensive or kickers.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's really good. All right, so if I had to rate Dennis's team...
Remember, he's got 2 good tight ends, pretty much, tight end 1 and tight end 7 in Kelsey and Hunter. So again,
if I had to rate his team, I would say it is likely to just miss out on the playoffs. It's going to be close, but it's going to miss out on the playoffs.
Maybe
if
the
I'm
lack
honest.
of a second running back. I mean, if he gets lucky with one of those running backs, and there's quite a few that could do something.
Yeah, and I
It
agree with
makes
you.
them
I
relevant,
think
doesn't it?
and this is going to be a wild card year, so there's no bad strategy here because he's targeted those kind of backup running backs. There's a very high chance that somebody quite important is going to go down. I think that's inevitable. We said it every year, but this year particularly, without the lack of training camp pre-season, I mean, it's going to be a wild ride. So it's not necessarily a bad strategy. And one or two good pickups during the season could mean this team gets into the playoff caliber or in contention. But I suspect for the first year, probably going to be quite hard. So being honest, I can see that team will mature more later. I'm probably thinking that's probably just a little off the pace year one, but maybe he can buck that and show me that it's a better team than it looks initially. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if things go his way, he could definitely compete.
Certainly very exciting wide receivers. And they have to be the anchor of the team. What is the, just for curiosity, what's the player set up in terms of how you can set a team up for game day? What do you have to field?
Let me just have a look. If you go into reports, rules, league scoring and league settings, we can have a look. So this is a scoring. So what's it for? I think it's full point PPR. I'm just trying to remember receiving yards, receptions. 1 point for each for that. So it is full point PPR. So it is wide receivers would sort of would look pretty strong there because it's full point PPR. Obviously makes him a bit stronger. That's annoying. Right,
yeah, they would, and he has got.
Right, so starters we got 10. So he can play 2 to 5 running backs, 3 to 6 wide receivers, and 1 to 4 tight ends. You can only play one. It's only one QB, so there's no super flex or anything there.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, well, as I say, I think my initial grade is I still feel comfortable with that grade. I think it's a team that can get 6, maybe 7 wins. It's that kind of team. It will need some pickups during the season and a couple of things.
And could go better if things go his way on the old running back front.
I do appreciate that there's some very powerful wide receivers there that could definitely be, like Juju Smith-Schuster could massively outperform any kind of ADP expectations.
And DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, and Mike Evans. I mean, they're all good receivers. You wouldn't mind having any of them. Landry's probably underrated most years.
And he's got Travis Kelce, who's going to be one of the best tight ends without a shadow of a doubt.
He's definitely built on the strength of his wide receivers. Let's move on to Dan Carr, also known as Otley. He's got nice Kyler Murray as a very nice young quarterback, and Kirk Cousins and Tannehill, who sort of probably would have been cheaper options later on just to give him a bit of depth. So he's looking good in there. He's got a very exciting young QB.
I'm really interested because Mr. Otley, Dan, our good old friend Dan, he has definitely been paying attention to a lot of what we're saying. I'm quite pleased about this because he's got a good fantasy mind. So he's definitely listens to what we say and also kind of concurs with it, and I like that because that makes me feel comfortable around.
Yeah, he's probably one of the hardest people you'll play in fantasy. He's very hardcore. He's almost on it 24/7, and
So I think if you look at his 3 quarterbacks straight away, I feel very comfortable with those 3, particularly in this league, and he's got the ability to min-max per week depending on how the game matchups look, so that looks fairly comfortable. He's got 2 of them on the same bye week, but that's okay. That doesn't really matter in this situation. But the good thing is by the time you're focusing on the run-in, all his quarterbacks should be available, ready for your choices as you get to those key games. So good list.
Okay. He probably you'd be surprised to know he probably had more Devy picks than anybody. He drafted fairly well, actually. He picked up some good bargains late on with the old Devy picks in the auction. So his running backs, he's got some sort of established ones like Lev Bell, Chris Carson. Tevin Coleman kind of has a role. And then he's got some younger guys, some Devy and some that have joined the league this year that he got with very late picks in the auction draft.
I think what I like about the established list of players that he's picked up is there's enough power in it to be able to put players in on a week-by-week basis. I also like the fact that he's taken 2 players that just are, at the moment, we don't know much about them, but certainly have capability. So that Zach Moss, I think, is going to get a lot of goal line work up there in Buffalo. So although it's a PPR league, and although Zach Moss' role is going to be limited, it's very handy when you haven't maybe got firepower at wide receiver, maybe. We'll have a look at his list in a minute. You've got the ability to, get a player who can snatch a goal line carry or two. Very useful in a situation like this. So I quite like that. Plus his speculative picks are interesting. But like I always say in Devy leagues, the thing is they always look great on paper. The trouble is you have to wait to see how they mature. And I'm going to break a fact down for you as well about Devy leagues. Even if you're looking at the players coming into the next season, 50% of them don't even make the NFL because of injury or problems and drop way off draft boards. So Devy leagues are fraught with huge risk. But it's the perfect
that's part of the fun of them. It just opens up more.
But it's
strategies.
the perfect gamblers league, because if any of those names hit there, which they've got good chances to, he's in a real driving seat for his running backs moving into his second year of his team. I do like his list though. Some nice.
Well, what do you think of his Devy picks? So he's got Max Borghi, Brees Hall, Kylan Hill, Keontae Ingram, obviously, as running backs, and then Rashad Bateman, Devonta Smith, and Jalen Waddle. All very quite exciting prospects there.
I think if he can get 2 or 3 of those to land, I think that's a fantastic Devy list.
Well, some of them are very high on the Devy list.
It's often the way. It's often the way you hear this every year. You hear about player prospects coming in, and it doesn't always work out like that because of injuries and things. But I do like the list. If he can get 2 or 3 of them to land, that's a great haul from a Devy list. And
he's also got some established wide receivers to bide him over till his younger guys come through. So the Marvin Jones, T.Y. Hilton, Keenan Allen, Julian Edelman, Allen Robinson, Preston Williams. He's got a nice. All of them you wouldn't mind having on your team, really.
I like the Chris Carson pick because it's really is simple money in the bank, really, in a situation like this. I think Le'Veon Bell does a nice, serviceable job. It may not be exciting, but it's good enough. Damian Harris, McFarland, and maybe even Keyshawn Vaughn are all bit wild cards, but they're interesting wild cards. And in a year like this, they could prove gold. So I'm quite, I like the list of running backs. I really do. I think that's a nice mix of can play now, play maybe in the season, and certainly play later. So that's really good.
Okay, and he's got Andrews and Hurst as his tight ends there.
Yeah, wide receivers is interesting again. So some slight worries there at wide receiver, but some good players too.
He's got a mix of young and young, old and young, exciting players, hasn't he? So,
well, my biggest fear this year is Keenan Allen and the injuries that he's been picking up. Julian Edelman without Brady, we'll find out a lot about that. T.Y. Hilton on the decline. They're certainly great players, but it's difficult now to know if the road ahead is exciting or whether the road ahead is just okay. That's a little bit.
But he's got some exciting players coming through. I mean, them three are 3 nice receivers there. Obviously, he's got Allen Robinson's going to be around a while. Denzel Mims going to be.
I think in his wide receiver list, he's pretty much knocked it out of the park for me there. I like those wide receivers coming in.
I found myself, I didn't bid for the older players, but a lot of the younger ones, like Preston Williams, I had my eye on, and he was bidding on a lot of the ones that I like.
Yeah, Preston Williams, super interesting again for this.
I had him on my list to try and get for cheap. So
he had a good end of year till the injury hit. But his stats and his performances in the games he played are very interesting. And given the fact Miami are going to throw all day, he just looks like a really good player to take a shot at in a league moving into this season. So I very much like the pick. So I think that's a team that I suspect makes playoffs, to be perfectly honest with you, straight away. I don't think there's any issue there. I think he's got a very good chance to make the playoffs. I don't think it's quite where he wants it as a team, but knowing Dan, he'll manoeuvre around to try and get it exactly in the image of what he wants.
I think he's pretty close to what he wanted. I think he was quite happy with how he drafted. My team, I went for something different in this. I just went for pretty much future players. I gambled on because it's a Devy league. I wanted to dip my toe into the water a bit and go with a younger team. It's not going to compete year one. Quite happy with the 3 quarterbacks. I actually picked up Justin Herbert, 508, pick 508. So he was right at the end of the draft. So literally in a Devy league, someone who's probably going in the 2nd or early 3rd, I managed to pick up near the end of the 5th round. So
yeah, I like your quarterbacks are very, very strong. I mean, I always rate certain areas of a board because there are only 4 areas you can rate. The maximum you should be able to score a given area is 2.5. that's an area that scores 2.5 because you've got potentially 2 top 5 quarterbacks there. You're not going to go far wrong. Beautifully off-balanced bye weeks, and a player that we will find more out about with Justin Herbert. So that great start there.
Yeah, obviously, I think 106 I picked Travis Etienne. Exciting player for the future, probably going to be, hopefully, one of the stars of the league in years to come.
He could have been the 101 if he'd have come in this year, so I think that's an excellent pick. I do like his opportunity. If he can just stay injury-free, the key is stay injury-free, and that's potentially the 101 in draft picks moving into next year right now. It really is. Most people know this anyway, so, yeah, it's a good pick.
Trey Sanders, I picked... the last pick of the draft, actually, 5-12, round 5, pick 12, I think.
Very interesting. Yeah,
he's an Alabama running back, so I was just taking a shot there on somebody who might his value might increase a lot.
Well, they tend to be a production house for running backs. They may not necessarily always be the most exciting, but they tend to bring players in that are pro ready. So that's a really good pick down there in a Devy league at the end. So
well, you're just taking shots, aren't you, at that sort of stage there? I mean,
let's take a look.
Raheem Mostert and McCaffrey would be my established running backs, and then I've got to hope that Carlos Hyde, Freeman may be able to. These literally cost me $1. These two.
Well, I think you've done the sensible thing here. I mean, the thing is, you've got 2 established names, so they're going to do you a great job. McCaffrey. There's no obvious flags on him. The only thing I have concerns, obviously, as you know, is just the sheer workload. But maybe this is just the exceptional player. This is the guy like Morris Jew Jones who can just play year after year after year and just keep performing at incredibly high level. We certainly proved it. So these guys are going to rank your team down. I think Mosa is starting to gather a lot of love in the fantasy community. I'm noticing a lot more posts about people saying he's the ideal 0 RB candidate. Well, that's a really big compliment, actually, funny enough, because that means he's being disrespected and undervalued. So I think that's brilliant. And I like the way your team will mature into the second and third year there at running back. Looks very good. I like DJ Dallas because there's no real competition for the backup role with Carson, as it looks to me. I mean, I know people will talk about Carlos Hyde, but you've got him as well. So
yeah, I mean, Penny will be back at some stage, obviously, but
yeah,
I don't know. I got DJ Dallas. I didn't even get him in the draft. I got him on free. Him and Raymond Calais. I got him on free agency. Basically, I tried to pick a load of high valuable players because I knew because it was Devy, there was going to be a lot of rookies left over I could take a shot on that would cut the basically in free agency.
Yeah.
So I went after them pretty hard in free agency just to pick them up. So.
Well, I think you did really well because you've got DJ Dallas and Carlos Hyde. I think I think it's actually longer than you think. I mean, the PUP, he's going to be on the PUP, Penny. That's at least 6 weeks. There's no training camp. There's no certain things that he can get away with and do. I could see it being a lot longer. And maybe this is a really tough thing to say, but just maybe it's just not going to make it all the way back. It's really hard with that kind of injury. It's serious. So. Good opportunities there. I like the running backs a great deal. I mean, you can't argue with McCaffrey. Will always give you high marks. So far, your team looks really well set. So
receivers is my weak point.
There's always a weakness in everything. Okay, so what were your
It's basically young. It's young. It's not going to compete this year. So I've got Brandon Ayuk, who obviously San Francisco might get a small role, but he's not going to be a league winner. Coulter I got off free agency. T. Higgins I got in the draft, but sort of 3rd round or something. So he was pretty far down. Justin Jefferson, obviously he could do something, and CD Lamb. So I've got a lot of young wide receivers basically, and the rest are sort of project players like James Prosh. I've got a good feeling about James Prosh. And the rest I picked Quez Watkins off for $1 in free agency because I had someone like Adam Humphries or someone that I probably picked up late.
Well, let me.
And then obviously the two Devy players who I'm very excited about, Jamar Chase and Rondale Moore.
Your Devy player list is excellent, but I'll make a prediction with you now that looking at your wide receivers, and I'll put this out there now. It may not look obvious to everybody there sitting there in those wide receiver lists. But you've got one guy I believe is going to end up a wide receiver 1 out of that group this year. It's going to come in and surprise people. So I actually think it's a better list than you think. So your team is very
I'm quite
strong.
Happy not to compete year one. If I can get a good pick and add a good player to it next year, as my players coming in.
Well, I think your team is very strong. So if you think quarterback very strong, running back very strong. Well, you have to be strong when you've got, two good starters and other players with opportunities to have at least a part role. So far so good. Your wide receivers is better than anticipated because you're gonna have to put players in and take some risks, which is fine. I think that could prove very useful to you. So your team looks really good. I may surprise you to say this, but that's a playoff caliber team. So it may be better than you think.
I don't think it is, but unless I get really lucky with someone like Malcolm Brown or Carlos Hyde, it's not. Or Freeman, someone like that who comes out of basically a $1 player could do something. Right, let's move on to Shani then.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, he's got the best quarterback in the game.
He's got the perfect rating for me at quarterback. It would be a 2.5 grade straight away. You got Mahomes and you back it up with Breeze. You don't matter what the rest are. But I love the Jacob Eason pick. He is my super sneaky sleeper quarterback for this year.
He was either very late in the draft or in free agency, so he hasn't paid a lot for him. Trevor Lawrence was quite late in the Devy draft as well.
I mean, if you look at where he's backing up, and you look at the team that they're building in Indianapolis, Jacob Eason could be very relevant in 2 seasons. He's not going to do much this year, but could be very useful. And as a building piece, it's brilliant.
Okay, so on to his running backs. He got Eric Gray as a Devy player. He's got sort of Darrington Evans. I think he picked him up quite late, but he's got some nice running backs here with Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs. I was trying to bid for both of those, and it just got a bit too. Once I had McCaffrey, it got a bit too expensive for me to carry on. But they're very nice bookends at running back.
Look what you've got. You've got Nick Chubb, obviously going to be exciting and interesting to watch all year. Jordan Howard always carves out a role for himself, so that's excellent. There's a lot to like in those running backs. Actually,
Josh Jacobs, you're a big fan of as well, aren't you?
Massive for this season. So he's going to be able to start comfortably 3 of those. He's got top quality quarterbacks, looking good so far. Some talent coming in. Nice pick there with Gray for the future. Very interesting pick. I like that a lot. Player on my radar already. So again, no surprise, Shani.
He's always good with his rookies. He's got John Ross's brother as well at wide receiver.
Good. Another opportunity to do. He took a step forward last year, and that team can only.
No, this is Justin Ross. So this is his brother.
Oh, sorry,
John Ross's brother, isn't it? I think Justin Ross.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, but still, that's a nice Devy pick there. That's interesting. Yeah, Tyler Wallace. Yeah, okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, Chase Claypool, a nice sneaky one for this season. Pittsburgh have got a great ability to find talent at wide receiver that others don't see. And I think, Chase, as you know, Chase Claypool was very high on my sneaky list, the later ones to target. So, yeah, again, I'm pleased to see it with Rashani. That really validates what I'm thinking. Happy with that.
He's got Calvin Ridley, you're a massive fan of. He got a bit unlucky with Debo getting injured. That's a real sort of blow to his sort of...
It is. The wide receivers list will need some work. There's no doubt about that. But the top part of his board is pretty strong. So, it looks pretty good. What's his his tight end situation?
He's got Irv Smith. Obviously, he could take a step forward this year, especially with obviously Diggs gone. There's some targets to go around there. And he's a second season tight end, so... Rudolph isn't much of a receiving tight end, but Irv Smith is. So he's definitely one to watch. He could step forward. Gronk doesn't need any introduction. And O.J. Howard as well. I think
I like that. Yeah, I like that. I think, again, it's pretty good. I think as a team there's got a great chance of a playoff berth. I mean, it looks pretty strong on paper.
He picked Colin Jackson, right? Tom Johnson, sorry, who raised a few eyebrows late in the draft. He says... done a bit more research on him because he wasn't necessarily someone on my radar for Devy, but he's 6'6", rookie that's joined Jacksonville, so he could be interesting. I'm very interested to that. That's kind of when I see Shani pick a player like that, it makes me look at him and think.
Well, the thing is about this guy that a lot of people don't know is that he has a very interesting. What I would call street basketball cred to his name. He's quite an interesting fella off the street, this bloke. So,
if you're 5'10" and you're trying to mark someone 6'6" when you're a cornerback, that's a pretty interesting matchup.
Your catch radius, assuming anything means that he's probably catching a ball out to 8 foot from the body, which is total. wingspan, as they say. Really reaching out. I mean, it's pretty
Feel
awesome.
like me, Sean. That's my sort of athletic prowess. That.
Yeah, I know. It's just unfortunate they didn't spot your talent till it was too late, which is what
I don't think it's too late, Sean. What are you saying?
No, it isn't. I think I can get you in a veterans
Still
game.
life.
I think I could get you in a veterans game, Al. Don't you worry about that.
I think I'd struggle with that. A walk in football's more like my sort of. Right, let's move on to Sam, who again, I mean, he's still bitter about McCaffrey when I took him off him earlier, and he basically, right, the little story with Sam, I was bidding on Kamara and trying to get Kamara and McCaffrey, and he outbid me just because he didn't want me to have. He didn't want any team to have McCaffrey and Kamara on the team, especially mine. He said, and then he traded him. He traded him away for less money to Graham. So
interesting strategy. Quite like it. I like.
Yeah.
I like. It's quite interesting. He's got Tom Brady. He's got Joe Burrow, Jordan Love. I'm not enamoured by the three of them.
I think he picked up Jordan Love off free agency because I know I went for him. So
yeah.
But in the free agency, he's got a decent pickup, I think.
I would say the three of them, in grade to other people, yeah, it's okay. It's obviously not massively the strength, but it's okay. We'll do a good job. What's the main strength of his team? Let's have a look.
He's got Dalvin Cook, but he backs him up with Mike Boone. So if Cook holds out, then Madison and Boone will be looking to get touched there.
Yeah, I don't think Boone's the guy. I think it's Mattison, to be perfectly honest with you.
He would be first, but Boone had some big games at the end of last year when Cook was out. But I think Mattison was carrying knock as well. He's got Miles Sanders, obviously.
Yeah, nice
and
one
Boston
too.
Scott from Philly. So, he's probably got that backfield covered.
And it's quite interesting that he's taken Darrell Henderson. I think I'm going to keep reiterating this, is that the Rams' backfield battle is not settled by any stretch of the imagination. This is a wide open contest. Anybody can come out of it. I'd actually say the order of it should really be Malcolm Brown, followed by Akers, followed by Henderson. But make no mistake, this is close. This is not a simple 1, 2, 3. This is actually a lot closer than people think.
It might be split, and maybe they'll go with a hot hand every week. It's not one that's
so. It's got two very, very serviceable running backs that I like. Some good talent for the future. Some interesting names there.
Yeah, me and him bid on a lot of the same players. He's got Chuba Hubbard, who's an exciting running back for the future, and Gainwell and Brown.
There was talk of Chuba Hubbard coming in this year.
Yeah,
but,
he could be very, very good. But he was bidding on a lot of the young players I like Laviska Shenault. Very keen on him, actually. Very, very keen.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I like we both like Michael Pittman.
And we both like Pittman. So he was bidding on Deontay Johnson. Me and him have sort of been battling over pre-season as well. I think Van Jefferson might have been from free agency, either that or a very late pickup in the.
Yeah, I think looking at his team across the board, being honest, and again, prove me wrong is the key here. I'm only telling you what I think. I don't think it's quite a playoff team at this stage. I think more work needs to happen. That could come into its own in year 2 and 3. There's some very interesting players he's picked up.
Yeah, he's kind of got sort of 10 really young Devy players that all sort of players coming to the league this year. So,
I will say
his team will improve over value like mine, I think, over the years, hopefully.
But I will say this, in a league where it's a 4-point PPR, there is some mileage in the tight end position. And I think his tight end group is very interesting. I mean, you've got Zach Ertz, who always is up there in the top of the pack. Blake Jarwin, I'm a huge fan of for this year. I mean, anybody that's seen me draft knows that. Jace Sternberger, very interesting. A lot of talk about him getting a bigger role this year. So could be a very interesting list. So
yeah, I mean, JC's got a nice team for the future as well, hasn't he? That Deontay Johnson could take a step forward if Parker can stay healthy. He's a top player. Diggs, is also a top player. Tyler Boyd. These are all players who can pick up points, aren't they? Beasley 184 points last year, so he's no slouch.
The thing about this team would be, to me, if I'm honest, is I would say it will be tough. It will be a tough ride. It's a couple of games short of where I want it to be as a playoff team, being honest, and I know that because I've assessed teams like my own where I know I'm a couple of players short. So it's definitely a couple of players short where it needs to be. It doesn't mean he can't get them.
I think it'll be on the edge of playoffs. I think he's got that sort of. I think it'll finish above mine. I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I think mine. I'm hoping. I don't think mine's going to.
All right. Well, I'll put a prediction in that I think you've got a wide receiver in your group that perhaps isn't as high. I mean, he hasn't. I mean, to be fair to Sam's list, it is an okay list of wide receivers, but I think you've got a guy in your list who's going to come on and be much better than people think. It could be a wide receiver.
Who is this guy, Sean? Who is this guy?
CD Lamb.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
CD Lamb. CD Lamb, I believe, can come into the NFL year one and be amazing. And I think even in light of everything that's happening with the limited play time, he is one of. There are a few players pro ready wide receivers, but he is absolutely killing it for me. He's done everything you can do in the college game, but it's the off-season workouts. It's the getting ready for the pros. Fucking hell, sorry to swear, but bleep that out. But, wow, you've got to see tape on this guy. It's incredible. I mean, when people come in this ripped, this motivated, this ready, it tells you a lot about the way they want it. I mean, he really wants to come in and show that he can compete in the Dallas team. And I'm excited for him. And I think he could be their wide receiver one very quickly. He might prove how valuable he is. He does so many things so well. It's DeAndre Hopkins 2.0. That's why your team could be a playoff team, because you've got good quarterbacks, good running backs, and up-and-coming running backs. Your wide receiver list, yes, there's some bits in there, but you'd be surprised. You've got to play them. You've got to play the Van Jeffersons of this world. You've got to play those players. And because you'll play them, I know what happened. Big risks, big things happen. Your team could have some amazing week.
Justin Jefferson, I'd have to play.
Yeah, sorry, Justin.
And maybe Ayuk gets a bit. Week. And I've got Ayuk as well. Who might do something with
you might be pleasantly surprised, because you have to roll the dice with some of these guys, and particularly with CD Lamb. I think it's going to be really good for you. So I'm optimistic. Sam, I think, is a couple of players short. Doesn't mean he can't get them. You can get them through free agency.
He's got some nice players. I mean, Dalvin Cook and Miles Sanders are
but I will say this: where he's very sneaky dangerous is those tight ends could be a really interesting mix. You can mix a couple of those in every week, and you might really benefit from it. I think I can really see Blake Jarwin getting at least 4 to 7 catches every week, with what yards go with that, and the potential for touchdowns in that high octane offense. Very interesting.
Right,
very interesting.
On to Breezes then. Right, he's gone with. He's got 4 certainly serviceable quarterbacks there, all different bye weeks, so that's quite handy.
Yeah, I think it's worth getting this out of the way now. So Baker's got it all to prove. I still believe the guy has a lot of talent, but he has a lot to overcome now. He's got to prove it. Drew Lock, I think, has got a great situation for this season, so that's great. Cam Newton's in a brilliant opportunity.
Well, Cam Newton also $1, I think, $1 or $2, not much at all. And he hadn't joined New England when we did the draft.
No, so
that's turned out as a bonus for him already.
Yeah, it's a big bonus, and you reap the reward of that bonus. Hold on, let me just shift positions slightly here. I think it's a really great group. It's a solid. It's maximum points 2.5, because the mixture of players you've got is super useful. You can pick your bye weeks and how to play your players on a schedule matchup. I think it's great. Matthew Stafford, big bounce back candidate. Cam Newton's going to have great game scripts where situations present themselves. But he is under the microscope of New England, and he's basically playing for a futures contract. So it's going to be very interesting how that plays out. I like it. I like those 4. Very interesting. It's worked out very well for him so far. Let's look at his running backs.
Okay, he's got some interesting characters. Some you really like, and some you're not so keen on. Matt Breida, big fan of his, obviously.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake, though, obviously one you've been touting a lot in off-season from January the 1st. So,
yeah,
there are all sort of players he could contribute this year.
Well, Darius Guys could take a big step forward. Todd Gurley has got no real competition, so as much as...
But he's got Ito Smith as well, so kind of covering that base.
I was going to say, he's got everything you want in terms of covering it. Joe Mixon, it's a 2.5 for me. So his quarterbacks and his running backs, I have no issue with that list. And, he can start 3 or 4 of those guys regularly to begin the season. So
he's got
very
some
strong.
Nice receivers as well. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's Equinemius, his brother. You'd be unsurprised to know, looking at the name. Tamari and Terry, obviously an exciting wide receiver for the future. They're the Devy sort of players. I went in quite high for Devin Duvernay because he was on free agency, and Gandy Golden was, and he got both of them, so which is very upsetting. I mean, I bid a lot. I bid like 2/5 of my budget probably for both of those. But he's got some nice receivers there. Michael Thomas, obviously the best receiver.
I mean, if you look at it logically, I mean, you got Chark going to have another great a chance for another good year. You've got Brandon Cooks, highly underrated in a great situation. Who else are they going to throw the ball to? Great opportunity there. Jamison Crowder, hugely underrated, got a great opportunity. Another player that regularly beats his ADP data. Devin Duvernay. A lot of people in our community very high on him as before the season even got going, and you can see why, because it's in Baltimore. I like Antonio Golden Gandy a lot, so I'm a huge fan there. Terry McLaurin is high on my list. Michael Thomas, we all know how great he is. That's a very strong list. I mean, I'd still give it a solid 2.0, and it only lacks a perfect grade just simply because there isn't a third name that's established to go along with Michael Thomas. Terry McLaurin is good, but we're going to find out how good this year.
Well, he's got Michael Thomas. He's got DJ Chark. I mean, he's got Brandon Cooks. They're all pretty solid players. McLaurin.
I mean, look, you're pretty close to perfect scoring in the first three categories.
Would you say that's the strongest team for winning this year so far that you've seen?
Yes, without a shadow of doubt. Yeah,
I think I would.
Potentially 3 or 4 games clear. It could be a 10-win, 11-win team. That's the kind of capability it shows.
He's got some solid, if not spectacular, tight ends.
They'll all do a job for him there. I don't have any issues with that. I mean, Eric Ebron, he always just does a serviceable job. That's all you need. And he'll probably find a free agent guy out there as well to mix in, I'm sure. So, yeah, perfectly serviceable. Good team.
Right. Should we leave it there for part 1 and then go into part 2, or do you want to carry on doing...
Yeah, we'll go to part 2 because there's a lot of information in this one.
All right, okay. So if you've enjoyed that, please leave a like. And, subscribe if you want to see more. Part 2 will be coming up. So I don't want to put it in 2 big videos. So we're going to break it down into 2. We're going to look at the rest of the teams and go through them. And then we'll see if Sean finds any other teams he likes there.
Yeah, so. And don't be frightened to send your leagues into us. If you've got a snapshot or picture of your league and you want us to give an honest assessment, throw it in. We don't mind. We'll assess the league.
Okay. Like I say, if you enjoyed it, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.